ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host Axia. As we get back into this, everybody, we are rolling through Season 4. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? Season 4 of GT Meister Racing. We are, this is amazing, guys. Honestly, super excited, super to have everybody here. Wolf, super blessed to have you in the chat with us. Sadly, we do not have you racing with us, and this is just going to be one of those races where I'm just super excited. Season 4, we're doing the Americas versus the British tracks here, and our season opener here in Season 4 is Laguna Seca. I'm your host Axia. For those that do not know, we are an American league that races at Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is truly going to be an honor to have everybody here. We got Casey Bennett out here up front with Farmer right in front of him. Farmer switching over from that Ferrari to the NSX. For those that don't know, the NSX got a massive buff in ACC, so he is definitely going to be trying to push himself as much as he possibly can in that Honda NSX in front of Casey Bennett. These two drivers during the whole entire practice session have been going nose to tail, side by side, as we have a yellow. That's 595. He is Mr. Chestnut, aka Trash Panda, in the Discord. Super happy to have you here racing with us. Trash Panda, we raced with him in a secondary league with Apollo Racing Club. Welcome to BG1. Let's go, Ricky Scott. The Ricky Scott fan club is here, and Sword and Keyboard. Welcome, waves to you, Mr. Swords and Keyboards. We miss you on the track, and we wish you all the best of luck. But right now, we're riding with Farmer. He is the fastest man on the track as he is about to set his fastest lap. We see Casey Bennett here right behind that white Lamborghini as he approaches around the bend as well. So we're going to keep an eye on everybody as they approach and go through here. We'll definitely keep it. We got 17 minutes left to play. We got to see how everybody plays out. Ricky Scott right now, he's out on the track. Let's see where he is. Number 16's off the track. 84, where are you on the track? 84 is now going through turn 1, which is Ricky Scott. So Big B Gaming, we will definitely keep an eye on him as we go through, but let's see what Farmer can do. Setting provisional. There's Casey Bennett in that red Porsche right behind him as they're coming through the final couple corners here. Here goes Farmer. He's going to break super late at that 2 barrier. There's the red Porsche. That Porsche's looking fast. They're only a couple tenths off the pace of each other. Let's see what happens. But let's not miss out. He does a 122.7. Casey Bennett, he's 1 second off the pace, but he could have had traffic there. Now let's take a look. Who else? We got 823 is about to cross the board. That's Chrysler Yort. We jumped. The Chrysler Yort's 3 seconds. Here we're on the track with Dominant Square. He's working his way through that second section of the track. As they go through, 77 is off the track over there. That's the new driver, Roku, in the Lamborghini. So definitely interesting. Tim Wilkins in that Mercedes, slotting himself 2.9 seconds off the pace. He's ahead of York by around a tenth. Tom Cassiani, he is a little bit around 4 tenths off the pace of York in that Honda, as Kevin Tarrant, he is back in the Lexus this season for Season Tarrant. And we get a shout out for Kevin Tarrant. Let's go for him with Swords and Keyboards. Huge shout out Kevin Tarrant, the New Zealand driver who's racing with us. Super awesome to see him out here with us. Let's take a look who is one of the faster drivers on the track, and that's Casey Bennett, the number 2 so far position. He's 7 tenths up. He is coming through the downhill section, and here he is at the last corner. Let's see what he can do. He still has Farmer in front of him. Now, for those that don't know, in ACC, the Porsche is definitely front-loaded heavy with the fuel. If you load too much of the fuel, and he, 0.055 off the pace of Farmer. What a beautiful lap. Now, let's take a look at some of the other drivers. Aiden Hasbrock, our championship leader. He's won the last 2 seasons with this McLaren, running the same silk livery paint scheme. So definitely see what he can do right now. With that McLaren, I mean, if he can put in a good solid time, he could move up super high here in the grid. He's working his way up the hill as we see Alex Lecroc. He is up in front of him. As he is off with that Lexus, he's probably going to jump back into the pits real quick and not get into the way. Here comes Aiden through the corkscrew, looking nice and tight, a little squirrely. Some of the dampers, looks like there's an issue. Looks like Louis still has yet to set a time as we go through here. A couple corners here. Let's see what Aiden can do. He is on pace. He's 5/10 up on his last time. Ooh, spin fireballs in the McLaren. Around the bed, bend early throttle. Let's see what he can do. He's got Farmer right behind him. Comes across the line. He invalidated his lap time, so he's not going to get anything so far. So let's take a look right now. Let's give a shout out to the newer driver, Renato Ricciu. I apologize if I botched your name on accident. In the Lamborghini, he seems to be the only driver in the Lamborghini. Definitely showing some love for the Lamborghini squad, as a lot of people have chosen to go with the Audi instead of the Lamborghini. I feel both cars have sufficient. Ooh, he catches the dirt, manages to save it. That's good. He can still qualify pretty high if he can still keep everything. Fernandez, a newer driver in the BMW. Now he is 2/10 off the pace of Farmer, as Farmer sets a new provisional pole of a 122.540. Farmer's definitely looking to showcase that performance with the Honda at the start of this season, as Michel slots himself P7. 2.255 off the pace with that Mercedes AMG. Park slots himself P16. Artem, a driver who finished second and third overall in the championship around there. Apologize that I forgot. He is sitting right now P16 in the Audi. He did tell us in the beginning of the race this is not his favorite track. He is not really in the pace. As Aiden Hasbrock sets the same lap time as Farmer, a 122.540. So we see Brian Douglas joins in with us in the McLaren. He's going to be trying to possibly set a qualifying lap time to see how he goes through. Now for the Ricky Scott fan club, we're going to jump along board with Ricky Scott. He is 2/10 up on his pace in that new painted McLaren, doing that half and half paint scheme. Definitely beautiful. Huge shout out to his team as they go through. As Wolf says, God damn, everyone is so fast. But there's a difference. Wolf, not everybody is super fast in my personal opinion. The grid is nicely and evenly spread out from top to bottom here in this race, in this qualifying session. So in my opinion, everybody is working very well and building and growing, which is a huge shout out to the pace and performance of what we have been able to establish here. So I'm pretty sure, Wolf, if you were here, you'd probably be slotted right around Tom Castellani. You'd be fitting very well. No, you will not be in the back. Don't say that. As Ricky Scott slots himself P8, 2.022 off the pace of the leader in the provisional laps. And there goes Brian Douglas out of the pits in that Blue Blur Racing McLaren there, in that black and blue McLaren, as Tom Castellani yeets himself into the wall. Number 47 Honda in the wall there, trying to find that pace to bring himself in. But now let's take a look at the Starburst BMW, ladies and gentlemen, of the BMW of Louis. He was a new driver last season that joined in with us. Missed a few races, but he is back racing with us this season. Definitely keep an eye on him and how his pace and overall performance is. See if he can reel something in and get his BMW up even higher. Definitely be an interesting one to say the least as we go through. Let's take a look in the pace and the performance of everybody. This is definitely interesting as we start to see a lot of the drivers start panning out. Let's see, we have Farmer, Hasbrock, Fernandez, and Bennett all on the same style strategy and pushing as hard as they can. Afonso, driver who raced the Mercedes last season, has now switched over to the Aston, as the Aston Martin got a little bit of a buff going into this season. So he's showing a super strong performance in that Aston Martin. And Artem, that driver we were talking about, that was P16, he slotted himself up to P6, 1/10 off the pace of Afonso. And Ricky Scott now 1.4 off the pace of the fastest lap of Farmer. He slotted himself into P7. Our newer driver in the Lexus, Alex LaRock, he's now P8 with Chrysler York P9, and Andrew Jaschke, who switched from his famous BMW over to the Audi, trying something new as Louis slots himself P14. So definitely keep an eye on all the rest of these drivers. Let's take a see who's the big mover so far in pace. And we're going to give it to the New Zealand driver, Kevin Tarrant. He is 2/10 up on his time in that Lexus, and he is hauling. So let's see what he can do as he approaches the uphill. We're just waiting on a few of their drivers. Brian Douglas, we know he is out racing. Roque is up 4/10 in the Lamborghini, so we're going to slot aboard with him 4/10. If he can pick up any more time, he can out-qualify James Park for that P19 spot. He is sitting there looking super strong in that out. Nice run, nice rollout on there. Get a little bit more on the throttle will help him out as we work our way through up to the corkscrew. Brakes early. Ooh, little front end snap there on the downhill now. Super smooth, nice and clean, super perfect. Now let's see how he lines these corners up here as he makes it on the left-hander. Looking very nice, very smooth. Braking about 1.5 meter board. Gets on the throttle, catches. No dirt. Good, good, good. Super nice and clean. What can he do? Fernandez sitting there off to the back end there, not trying to get into anybody's way. Let's see what he can do. He's only up 2/10, but he reels James Parks into a 10th. That battle is going super good. Brian Douglas out-qualifies James Parks. So he's going to be sitting P19 out of that P21 spot. We have 23 drivers so far in this race. Let's take a look. Who else is? Jacob Michel in that Mercedes. He's up 6/10 coming up to the final corner. Tom Castellani is ahead of him. Can the NSX give the Mercedes a bit of a tow if he gets out fast enough out of that corner? That's 8/10 now is what the computer's telling me. 8/10 and across the board puts a P6. He's 1 second off the pace. Afonso reels in a little bit more. Fernandez now leapfrogs Casey Bennett. So this is definitely looking to be a big enough a battle out in the front of the pack. This is looking super strong. We only have 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to play, and I'm probably going to lose my voice, ladies and gentlemen. The track is optimum. These drivers were messing with fast track conditions, and now it's definitely increased, and now these guys can go as fast as they possibly can. And let's take a huge shout out to a newer driver, Mr. Sharma. Sushar Shawarma, who had just joined the league not that long ago. Prior to the start of the season, he's looking super racy. He's about 0.010 off the pace of Roku. He's going to be pulling off what looks to be for this race. And then before he jumps on, let's take a look at Cole Bennett. He's in a Mercedes as well. He switched over from the Audi last season over to the Mercedes. So let's see what he can do in the Sim Lounge Mercedes. He's going to slot himself P18, 1/10 ahead of Dominant Square. So he's been looking super racy and pacey here with that new internet connection. Definitely keep an eye on him and how his overall performance is. And we're going to jump over to our provisional pole leader, Mr. Farmer here. He's up 3/10 on his time, so he's about to separate himself from Hayden Hasbrook, because we just saw what looked like a Porsche overshoot the final quarter. And Farmer now sets a provisional pole of a 122.232 in the NSX here at Laguna Seca. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how much of that qualifying pace is going to resort into race pace. And our biggest mover right now is Cole Bennett. He's up 5/10 in that Mercedes on a pretty much... he's got one car ahead of him coming up to the corkscrew, but he's pretty much clean air right now as long as he keeps it nice and tidy. Nice, beautiful run down the hill here through the bend. Here he goes. So it looks like he's got the white NSX of Recruit in front of him. 88 looks like he's slowing up here. That's going to be car 88 is Fernandez. Nope. Okay, everything is good as they get going here. Looks like Tom Castellani had a little bit of an issue at Laguna Seca. Fell behind, but Cole is still up 1.2, so now he jumps Tim Wilkins in that P16 spot. He's 2/10 ahead and 2/10 behind, Louis. Looks like Chestnut, a.k.a. Trash Panda in the Discord, is still sitting there in that P14 spot. Let's take a look at other big movers. And speaking of Chestnut, here he comes up to the final corner in the Ferrari in that raccoon-style paint scheme. really nice paint scheme that he's got going here as he's getting onto the main straight. He's about to cross the line. Let's see what he can do. He's up 5/10. This is going to leapfrog him up to P11 ahead of Yort in that McLaren. Right behind that Lexus is Andrew Jaschke's jumped Ricky Scott. Ricky Scott's dropped down to P9. Looks like Farmer set a new fastest lap of a 121.980. So who else is a big mover? Fernanda. He is up 2/10 on the back half of the track. Ooh, catches the sausage curb. He's going to lose all the pace that he once had in that lap. Commentator curse. Sad to say, but now Andrew Jaschke, ooh, as commentator curse again, I have to stop switching over to people, as Andrew Jaschke has now played ping pong at Laguna Seca. That's definitely something that we can write down and put it on his resume as a recruit in the Lamborghini. 4/10 up as he crosses the line. It's going to jump him up to P21, so that's going to leapfrog him ahead of James Park and Sharma here. That's 22 and 23. He's not that far off of Brian Douglas to take the battle with him. Brian Douglas, though, is up 4/10, and he's coming up to the final corner, and he's got Farmer in front of him. Now the question is can he use Farmer as a tow onto the main straight? Let's see what he can do as he's about to cross the line. Boom, P19 slots himself up higher than Dominant Square. We see Andrew Jaschke coming out of the pits and work his way through. Yort up to P7. Farmer over there in the dirt, slid into turn 1. Looks like he is going to be calling it possibly a day. He's still 5/10 ahead of Aiden Asbrock here. Now this track has definitely messed up some of the people's performances as it's kind of throwing everybody off. Let's take a look. We're going to keep riding along for Brian Douglas and see who else has got a lap for us. So we have anybody faster right now? Let's see. We got Matt Artem. He is just coming into turn 1 in that Audi. Now, he was telling us during the pre-race that this is not his track, and he's sitting P8 right now, 2/10 ahead of Chrysler, 2/10 behind Chrysler Yort, and 1/10 behind Andrew Jaschke. And he could possibly, I mean, he's in prime position if he can work some stuff out, and get further ahead. And Casey Bennett, the highest Porsche guy, in P4. He has been sweating that car and trying to figure out the setup and the pace of it, and he has just managed to just make everything work. Let's take a look. We don't have anybody on a faster lap right now so far on the screen, and we're going to welcome Stefan Buckley into the comms booth. Mr. Buckley, how are you, good sir?
Oh, fine, XC. I've just taken a break tonight, obviously.
Well, hey, sometimes we all need breaks, but hey, I need a driver's input for a second, if I could pick your brain real quick. As a driver, when you go to Laguna Seca, what are the main things that you're focused on with that track? We all know it's the corkscrew, but is there anything else on this track that we really need to focus on when you're trying to set up that perfect lap?
Avoiding the sausage curbs.
And there we see Artem just catching a glimpse of possibly a sausage curb as he dodged it. And that's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to see when we go around with this track. Now, for overall pace, is it definitely one of those? We know there's a lot of elevation with the tracks, but as a racer who's raced a lot in these games, do you see a lot more in like older tracks like this, like tire degradation, or is it mostly just it all just varies depending on the car that you're racing?
Well, actually, I've actually raced here many times. Well, not many, but a few times in real life in 250 supercars, and it's a very hot, very dusty track, which doesn't show necessarily on ACC, but very dusty. But the tire for when I race here, it's always the tires just tend to go, but I tend to race over my head a lot too, so trying to catch up or maintain a certain pace. But yes, it's corners and then little short straightaways, corners and then another little short straightaways. It's a tough track, it really is.
And then, that's a wonderful insight, and we're so blessed to have you in the league here at GT Meister Racing. Now, if you could give any of the drivers a big piece of advice, except for, watch out for the sausage curves, and try that. Take your time through the corners. I mean, is there any other big advice? Because right now we have 23 drivers so far for the season opener here at season 4.
Main on this track, if you press it too much, you're going to go off, and when you go off, it's not pretty. But if you maintain your pace, just maintain, and watch the few people that may want to dive bomb you at the penultimate corner, or the last corner rather, and some other little places. But just maintain your pace, and you'll finish.
That's awesome news, and I'm so happy to hear it from you, because as a race director, we always tell the drivers, hey, relax, be patient, be patient, be patient. It's an hour-long race. Everybody is here. Everybody is participating. As we see Michelle about to cross the line, he slots himself up P5, 1 second off the pace of Farmer, who set the fastest lap of a 121.980, 5/10 faster than the championship leader from last season. So this is definitely going to be an interesting one to see where everybody places in performance overall. I mean, this is such an interesting spread, because you have the top 4 drivers all within a second. You have Michelle on the outside looking in. And then you get these little pockets of these drivers as they go through here. As we're actually in Michelle's car, as we're going to just zoom right out. It's definitely awesome to have you in here with us. If you would like, you're more than happy to stay here with us and co-commentate as well. It's up to you. But here we see Farmer, Aiden Hasbrock, Fernandez, a newer driver in that BMW, Casey Bennett switching out from the BMW, Mr. Buckley, and he is now in the Porsche with us today. Michelle, he is in the Mercedes-Benz. Afonso switched over from the Mercedes. He has joined the Aston Martin camp, the only Aston Martin in the league. And then we've got Chrysler York. Of course, he's still rocking the McLaren. But he's got the sparkling water yellow McLaren. I don't know why this isn't moving any faster. I apologize for those that are watching. A newer driver, Lacroix, Alex. He's P8. He is the fastest Lexus so far, followed by Matt Artem. He is in the Audi. And then Andrew Jaschke, who slotted himself over from the Audi to the Audi as well. So a huge group of conversions from the BMW over to the Audi, so that's probably going to make you super happy, Mr. Buckley, unless you were a little upset that you weren't now there's more Audis and now you have to change your car again. As we have Ricky Scott, he's in that McLaren, and Panda in that Ferrari. So we'll jump over here as well and just right along board Now, I have a question for you, Buckley. In the start of these races, you get that 2-minute break to relax, to breathe. I mean, set your settings up and everything else like that. And then you have the dreaded 1 full formation lap. I mean, what's going on as a driver for you, and with your experience, what's going on in your mind during that full formation lap before you finally get that green?
I don't get the jitters anymore, but that's always was a thing. But the main thing is just trying to heat up the tires. I personally don't do the back and forth, because on this track I've seen a lot of people wreck in the starting lap. I use my brakes to speed up and brake, because the all-important getting through the T1 and T2 process at the start is the main goal. Then after that, they all kind of will fall into their groups. And in this case, I think there'll be 3 groups: the aliens, the mid-pack, and then the rest of everybody else. So if they stay on track, so it'll be a good race. That's it.
Oh yes, 100%. Especially now that we are starting to see some of these drivers, as we start to see Farmer roll out for the formation lap. Looks like he's not used to the formation lap due to the fact that usually it's Aiden that's leading it out here during the season. So it's definitely awesome to see competition for Aiden Hasbrock in that silk cut McLaren. It's definitely awesome to see competition coming to him in this battle here overall. Now, the one thing I've also noticed about Laguna Seca, it almost seems like sometimes this track, it's almost like no matter where you can try to break every single time in the exact same space, but for some reason it seems like the track may be actually dusty, like they may in-game install it and set it up to be a little dusty, because it's just, I don't know, for me, I was testing it with the guys last night, getting everybody's feel for it, how they like the track, and it was definitely interesting, as now the track conditions, for those that do not know, at GT Meister Racing, we made a few changes to give it more of a realistic feel. That practice and qualifying session will be held on a Saturday at noon to give all the drivers optimum track conditions. And now we are racing at Sunday at 10 a.m. in game. The track is set to fast. So a lot of the drivers that set their cars up for fast, and that was what the practice server was, they may actually pull off a little bit of pace, and it may catch off some of these mid-pack drivers that their setups were primarily done on an optimum track. I mean, do you see a lot of advantages to that?
Well, I see the guys who at least know the fact. I just knows that it was fast. That's very unusual. You just got to watch your inputs, your steering inputs, and be safe on a fast track. That with during a race, it's going to be very interesting, Exia.
And that's what we try to do. And oh wait, the track just switched to optimum before the start of the lap. So this is going to be interesting. Curious on how much of the rest of the track is optimum, because I'm sure you know as well as I do, sometimes it switches over to optimum, but it's not fully optimum as we start to wait for these drivers to come up to the last corner. Everybody trying to get their brakes nice and warm ahead of the start of the race. So this is definitely going to be an interesting one. Aiden is known for getting the starts, getting a good jump at the start, so we'll be curious to see what the McLaren can do. Looks like the back of the pack is starting to form around the bend, and they got it in time. So here we go. Let's see as we wait for the green lights. Green, 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 and we are away. The race for the season 1 at Laguna Seca. Aiden covers the inside. Fernandez can't make a move. Down on the inside, looks like Michelle possibly could make something happen. He's going to set Casey a little bit wide. We're going to move down the pack. Doesn't look like there's much of an issue. Everybody kind of cycled through there a little bit. Looks like Jashty kind of lost out. Cole Bennett fell back a little bit. Ooh, Mr. Chestnut kind of lost the back end. Now Tom Cassiotti's going to cover the inside as we see Louis trying to make his work. Oh, so there's a little bit of a tap there between the Mercedes and the BMW. They are trying to work their way through here in the grid. Kevin Tarrant's now getting attacked by Alan Zhu as they're trying to work their way through. Trash Pan and Brian Douglas is slot hitting himself up there as they work their way up the field. And it looks like Farmer has now gapped himself from the back of the pack, and he is 6/10 ahead of the pace of P2 of Aiden Hasbrock. So maybe Aiden Hasbrock's going to have a faster pace at the start of the season, as we have a yellow sector. Looks like 414. Driver 414 is Artem. Looks like he lost it at the corkscrew. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one for him in his race. Looks like car 99, Mathis Tuda, was a late shower. He is going to try to do a little bit of a recovery race here. So hopefully everything works out for him. And honestly, this is a beautiful start of the race in the clean one as we see Farmer. There goes Fernandez. He made his move around Aiden Hasbrock as the drivers go through. I know a lot of drivers usually complain a lot about Laguna Seca due to the fact that it is a bit of we have a little bit of an incident in turn 1. But other than that, that's about it. Looks like they're getting going here. I know for myself, I'm not a huge fan of Laguna Seca due to the fact of it's such a weird setup track, because you want to have all that downforce and all that pay. Oh, and there goes Casey Bennett. Oh, Casey Bennett crashes into the wall. Curious to see what happened there in that lap, but it looks like he possibly caught a curb and lost it. but we're going to slot down a little bit and follow the battles as we get going here in the second. We got Brian Douglas. Where are you? Brian Douglas, he was all over the back of Chestnut, but he's got Tim Wilkins in that Mercedes now, chasing him down as they go through here in this grid battle. What an amazing battle. Ricky Scott now slots himself P8 in the overall championship. Let's see, Casey Bennett, let's see how much damage. He's going to be right behind Cole Bennett. Cole Bennett has rejoined us with this season. Now we see Louie all over the back end of Casey Bennett. We know the pace of Casey Bennett is in that top 5 spot with that Porsche. But the question is as a driver, Buckley, when you go off the track and you go into the dirt, what is in your mind? What is it? Is it like, I got to go, go, go? Or is it like, okay, I need this lap to get my tires going? Because there's a lot of drivers that will either want to try to push themselves even further and then they cause issues, or, you know, there are some drivers that, you know what I mean? It all depends. Ooh, and we see Cole Bennett start to glitch out a little bit, and Tom Cassiani gets past him. Louis now is, Cole Bennett's internet is a little all over the place here in this race. Hopefully that does not mess up with anybody's races. We'll have to keep an eye on that as well as we go through. Let's take a look at Ricky Scott. He's 0.6 off the pace of Chrysler Yort. Ooh. Doesn't look like Chrysler Yort's really picking up any time. Let's jump around. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for those. Oh, Cole Bennett is off the corkscrew. Looks like he missed the braking, and he's just going to pull out onto the track right there. That is not a very safe manner. And that's just going to throw Louis off on his pace on that track. That is definitely something that I would not advise doing, especially coming up to that corkscrew. I'm pretty sure you know, Buckley, if you overshoot your braking mark and you're just trying to use that downhill piece to shoot yourself down, I mean, if you've got a pack of cars right behind you, they're you know what I'm talking about. You're kind of stuck in that weird downhill like trance to where you kind of almost lose about 50% of your vision on that downhill piece.
Indeed.
Let's take a look here. We got Kevin Tarrant. He is all over the back of Louis, as we've had a few of the drivers make a few suggestions next season, Buckley, about actually adding in a multi-class series. I did make a mention to if we did it, I would have to require at least a minimum of 5 cars per season. Only due to the fact that I feel like 5 cars is enough to draw a crowd, and that would be adding a GT4 against the GT3 pack. Ooh, as we see, looks like Tom Cassiani is in the wall, and he is off the track there. So hopefully he's able to recover himself as Alan Zhu is trying to work his way up. Andrew Jaschke looks like he got past Alan Zhu. Yeah, he did, and he went through. Let's see, Dominant Square. Let's take a look at where is Dominant Square. Dominant Square all over the back end of James Parks. For those that don't know, James Park definitely, he went super wide in that McLaren. He's overshot that corner. That downhill left-hand turn, I'm sure you know, Buckley, as a driver, it kind of throws you off a little bit due to the fact that you're uncertain about how the corner is supposed to be. Because, you know, in your brain, you're like, I can carry more. I can carry more and make the corner. But then all of a sudden you get through the corner and then you're like, I'm carrying too much into that corner. And then you get, you know, you kind of get pushed out a little bit based on the way the corner is designed. We're going to jump back up with Tim Wilkins as this freight train is still going on between what looks to be Kevin Tarrant, Brian Douglas, Tim Wilkins, Chestnut, and Andrew Jaschke in the background as they work their way through, as we see Tim Wilkins all with that Wikipedia paint scheme Mercedes here as they work their way up the hill. Aiden Hasbrock about a second. Ooh, Chestnut goes super wide. Andrew Jaschke's going to get him on the uphill. I apologize for that for everybody. Now, let's see. Brian Douglas is looking super strong. He came in a little bit late, had to do all of his fast laps during qualifying to get up into the pace as we go through. Here are the next race for the next season for those viewers that are watching and that would like to join The next race is, let's take a look at the calendar here real quick while everything is developing and it is going through. The next race is Snetterton for next week, and that's definitely going to be an interesting one as well. I love Snetterton as a British track, especially it's kind of like a bit of an equalizer. For a lot of those guys that are hot lappers, it's one of those tracks where it really messes with them because they can't really set the laps that they want to set because of how the flow of the track, so you really have to make things work as they go through. Now we're going to jump along board. P8, Michelle, he is all over the back end of Ricky Scott. And for the Ricky Scott fan club, let's hear you guys in the chat as we watch the McLaren and the Mercedes driver duke it out down into the corkscrew. Ricky Scott covering very well on the inside on the downhill, but Michelle gets the run in the Mercedes. He's going to try it on the inside of the McLaren. The McLaren is going to try to squeeze the door on him a little bit. Michelle gives him adequate space. Is Ricky Scott going to send it down on the inside? He doesn't. He's going to check up right behind the Mercedes driver as they get through up to the final corner into the second braking board. Ricky Scott's going to have to check out of that because that Mercedes car is just out braking the McLaren even more than what he can handle. And that is something that I've noticed is as much and as powerful as the McLaren is in this game, it cannot brake to save its life. It's like all the budget went into the whole entire car and none of it went into the braking system in this game. Your thoughts, Mr. Buckley?
I'm trying to. I think I just did a chat thing that the announcing is delayed or is ahead of the actual filming or the race here. The light race is panning out as usual.
Yes, there is a delay. There is a delay in the stream. So what you're seeing, if you're watching the stream, what you're seeing versus what I'm doing is, yes, it is completely two different things.
I'm watching Krister's feed as well as GT Meister, and it's difficult because of the delays.
Well, speaking of Krister York, he is sitting there P5 in that McLaren. He's looking super strong.
Yes.
In that yellow McLaren as the pit window opens. Now the question is who is going to dive into the pits and possibly do we're going to jump down to P13. Andrew Jaschke, he gets past Brian Douglas. Kevin Tarrant, he's going to look on the inside but he's going to close the door on Tim Wilkins. So right now, Brian Douglas in this battle between 12, 13, 14, and what possibly could be 16 could have a big issue. As we see Casey Bennett, he has dove into the pits. He's going to try to possibly do a massive undercut here in this race, and that's going to be a tall tale for 50 minutes in that race, especially with the Porsche. I'm sure you know, Buckley, especially when you have to pit and then hope for that your pace is fast enough to leapfrog a lot of these guys that are out with no damage.
Absolutely, and boy, there's some close racing going on in that mid pack. Whoa-wee. It's looking really good.
Take a look here and see what we can do here. There you go. Hey, I'll give you what I'm seeing so you have an idea of what it is that I'm seeing. Is Tim Wilkins all over the back of Kevin Tarrant in that Lexus. The car that ACC tries to get rid of, but it's just, for some reason, it just does not want to go away. And it is very interesting. I kind of want to actually see that car make a comeback as we now see Aiden Hasbrock, the P3 driver, sitting on the back end of the P2 driver, working his way up the corkscrew. Aiden is going to try to make something happen with that McLaren. And another issue with this track is as much as, super late on the brakes. Oh, that was a cuff call. Aiden almost made the BMW a hood ornament and sent him to the moon. But he managed to match the braking markers there. It's amazing, the pace and performance when you're with how blind that corkscrew is, and you having to catch your brakes as you're approaching that corkscrew, and then all of a sudden you realize, did I just It's almost like you second guess yourself, and you're like, did I brake fast enough?
True enough.
As we go through here, we got Aiden Hasbrock still all over the back of the BMW. Farmer still has yet to fully separate himself big enough of a gap, 3.4 seconds. I'm sure as a driver, that can get changed by a 30-second stop-go or even a drive-through in the pits, but they seem to be clawing away a little bit of that time as Aiden now sends it over the dirt.
He hit the a little bit. Yeah. All it takes is for a little chink off into the dirt, and you lose that lead.
And we're going to jump down board Mr. Chestnut here. Our timing board did say he was on the back end of Kevin Tarrant's, but we were a little bit off. But that Ferrari is looking super racy. I'm super excited for when ACC releases the new Ferrari as well as the new Lamborghini and the GT2 cars into the season, as the Mercedes is going to park himself onto the track to allow the faster group through. I probably would have never picked that spot, but as long as nobody is affected, that's all that matters. As we ride along board, the Ferrari definitely getting a reel on that Mercedes here on the infield, but it seems like that V8 from the AMG seems to be a lot more stronger on the faster parts of the track, where you can really just let it flow and then get really higher up in those RPM ranges. As we get through, a lot heavy on the brakes, down into the corkscrew, looking really nice.
I have several people looking forward to that jump on the Ferrari bandwagon, and I myself just might jump on the new Lamborghini bandwagon.
Well, and the Ferrari's closing him into the final corner. Can he make a move, or is it too far back? Oh, it's too far back. After all the years of doing the announcing between Formula One and now GT3, a lot of this stuff, I'll be doing that. I'll be streaming it, and then all of a sudden I'll be down on the inside. And nope. Okay, nope. And the Ferrari on the AMG with the Lexus now reeling him in. And this battle is just developing for this P4, 12, 13, and 14 position. And for those that do not know or have not raced GT Meister Racing, I welcome you guys all to join in. Check us out. Find us on SimGrid as well. We'll also get a link for you in the stream as well. For those that do not know, we actually do points to the top 15 in the race. So right now, these points are actually super valuable. These 11 through 14 are super valuable because depending on how the races are for the rest of the season, it could throw you off dramatically to the point where all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're just, you need those few points to actually just move up just a little bit more in the grid, because there were times last season where we had a battle between, I think it was P8 through P16, and it was only 2-point separation. So these points are super valuable as Tim's going super aggressive on the Ferrari, and that Ferrari is definitely trying to make something happen here. And it is just, that Ferrari is probably just going crazy right now over the fact that he cannot make something stick and make something happen here in this track, as we have surprisingly 43 minutes left to play. I thought there would be more time passed, but I guess me talking, there has not been a whole lot more time passed. As we see Chestnut trying to make it. Ooh, Kevin Tarrant's going super deep into turn one. That must be a strategy through there.
Little note from Matt Ardham. He had to withdraw because he had gearbox problems.
Oh, what a shame there from Artem with the gearbox issues. But hopefully during the next race in the the next few seasons, he's able to bring in and showcase a lot more of his pace and performance, because we know he can do it. And we're going to jump along board with the P6 driver of Michelle. He is all over York trying to make something happen here. He's 0.3 off the pace. He made it stick against Ricky Scott. He got past the Lexus of Alex. Now, can he make it stick? Now, here's the issue. Here's the big issue. Buckley, if you were in Farmer's spot and you're 3.4 seconds ahead of P2, P3, you know what I mean? and you're running into an issue where, oh, actually, it looks like P3 is 4.2 seconds off the pace. As Farmer, and you're in there, but you're not gapping P2 very much. Like, you have him on a steady 3.4 second. What's going on in your mind as you're getting closer and closer to the halfway point of this pit rotation as we see Alan Zhu dive into the pits at P14?
Well, Hjort is a veteran. He's a wily veteran. And I don't know much about Michelle, but I'd be looking at pit strategy right now and see where my fuel is and how my tires are doing, and just maybe sit back and wait for him to make a mistake, because it's so hard to pass here. It really is.
It is 100%, and a lot of the moves that Michelle's been making is on this downhill left-hander by sticking his nose out and catching a lot of people off guard here at Laguna Seca. But he's looking at it on the final corner. Is he going to send it? He's not going to send it. He's going to just check up. And looks like Hjort had a little bit of an issue. We're going to have a bit of a drag race down the main straight. Now the question is he going to mess up, catch the Mercedes off guard for a late braking maneuver? Oh, looked like he was about to. He just caught the brakes in a hair, and Tom Castellani is off the track again at number 97, and that's going to be Dominant Square. He's going a little slow. So that's going to be an interesting one, to say the least, and see. Maybe that was a bit of a damage there. Let's take a look. We're going to be coming across. Oh, there he is. That's like on a prime real estate area not to back into.
I think Krister missed a gear.
Oh, that could have a huge effect.
That was a good pass. Number 7 there. Rook, or no, it was number 7. Michelle did a good pass. That was a great move.
Very much so. Now, hopefully, we can see Krister regain his momentum and push. But right now, he is under attack by Alexandre, or AKA Alex here, a new driver into the league. He decided to run the Lexus this season. So it'll be interesting to see how well Hjort recovers from that, because, sometimes, you're like, oh man, I just got passed, I just got moved, and the going through here. Let's definitely see how he works his way onto the main straight here as well. Let's see, does not look like he makes any bit of improvement here coming down into turn 1. We're going to slot up long board with the battle that has been constantly going on, the P10, P11 battle between Brian Douglas, Tim Wilkins, and Chris Chestnut in that Ferrari. They are reeling in Brian Douglas, and Kevin Tarrant is now back over the pace. The Ferrari switches his lineup, going for a much wider line and working his way through down the main straight. Here they go. Let's see what the Ferrari can do as they work their way up to turn 1. I've noticed not a lot of drivers are really trying to make that move down into turn 1 to throw them off guard, Buckley. It almost seems like they want to try to do it, but then they just check out of it just a little bit, and they're not really trying to push it, and just trying to do more of the long range endurance race of this event.
Makes sense. Laguna is a very difficult and tiring race.
Oh man, I just read in the chats. James U. May, my pedals have stopped to respond. DNF hardware issues. Oh, sorry to the Audi that got hit in turn 1. James, what a shame there, especially for hardware issues. That's the last thing you want, you want ever to happen to you in a race. Not just for you, but other people in the series. What a shame there. Hey, it's a long season. It's 8 races. Anything can happen. So we'll definitely have to see what happens at Snetterton and see, all you can do is bounce back. All you can do is bounce back. There's a lot of movement. If your pace is higher. Oh, there goes Chestnut on the inside. Beautiful move. Tim looked like he bogged down, like he didn't shift fast enough or was in the wrong gear. Drag race down into turn 1. Who's going to outbrake who? We were talking about this a lap earlier. The Ferrari sends it deep. The Mercedes tries to switch back. The Ferrari gets the door on him. What a beautiful move.
Nice move.
Now let's see. Can Tim Wilkins respond? There's Tom Castellani really off the corner that I would have moved up a little bit more and gotten out of the way there. But, sometimes, you kind of get into those weird hesitations where you kind of don't want to fully put the car on the spot of the track. Now, they were catching, during their initial battle, they were catching Brian Douglas in that P10, in that McLaren. Now the question is how much faster can Mr. Chestnut catch Brian Douglas for that top 10 spot? We are 37 minutes in, 27 minutes to go, P16. Looks like they had a little bit of an issue. That's Aiden. Ooh, that's going to allow P4 past him. This is not Aiden's race so far, but now Aiden is going to be attacked possibly by Michelle in the battle here. Wait, we got 97, which is dominant square. Okay, so that battle is not going to be growing anymore, but Michelle is catching up to him. So we're going to switch over and take a look at this pace overall here. So let's take a look at Aiden Hasbrock. He is, Afonso going super wide. Aiden is going to send it. He's going to make something happen. He knows his pace and performance. Side by side, down the hill they go. Ooh, that beautiful teamwork that these drivers are having through the track here. But Afonso is not giving up in that Aston Martin that got a massive buff by the Kunos development team. Here, that V8 is definitely coming to life against the McLaren here in the final corner. Now the question is how much damage did Aiden cost to his tires during that spin? And there you see Michelle getting the follow through with dominant square. He's going to allow him through the track here as they work their way through here in this race. So we see Alex, he is half a second off the pace of York. We're possibly going to be jumping down there as well to see that overall pace, as 77 has lost it in the corkscrew. That was the white Lamborghini as he's returned to the pits. So he's probably going to get a massive tow penalty there. Ricky Scott is in the pits. He is one of the first drivers to actually go for it in the 35. Thank you for the follow, the Divine Champion. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Huge shout out. Definitely let us know who you are rooting for, and we'll try to get them on the screen as much as we possibly can. I already know who Buckley is rooting for. Buckley is rooting for the commentator because the commentator is the best commentator. As we'll jump down to Alex here, who's all over the back end of York, coming up to the corkscrew in that Lexus. And he is just looking overall like the pace of him for this season opener he is just looking super strong, and we're just happy to have him here racing with us. Go on, Afonso, the Divine Champion, is calling it out. Afonso now 1.45 seconds off the pace of Aiden Hasbrock. But the question is will Afonso leapfrog as Alex dives into the pits in the Lexus here? So we're going to jump aboard the Aston Martin to give Divine Champion and see what happens, as Wolf in the chat says, damn, Farmer is that fast. He is pretty quick at Laguna Seca. The Honda definitely got a bit of a buff in a performance game here in this race. A 603 has lost it in the corkscrew. That's going to be Tim Wilkins. So hopefully he's able to recover, and the leader is going to catch up to him. So now as a driver, Buckley, we have to ask you is, do you start going with the process of, if you're starting to make mistakes, do you dive into the pits and hope to just mentally recover yourself before you start going, or do you just stick to the strategy that you have and just keep pushing?
I think it depends on your fuel load and tires, but I think you're absolutely following the right point. Sometimes you got to get your head back together, and for some people it takes a little bit longer than others, and it's probably good strategy. Have note here that Aiden has set the fastest lap, and Tom Castellani, he's having a tough race tonight.
Yeah, it is not his race today. And now we see Chestnut all over the back of Brian Douglas. He's getting a run up to the corner. The question is now comes time to play chicken. Who is going to bail out and who's going to... Ooh, they don't touch. They're working their way up to the corkscrew. What a beautiful move by Chestnut, working his way, super late braking. Definitely catching Brian Douglas off guard. Oh, the the pace. And then now you have Tuda. He's worked his way up from last up to Brian Douglas in that P9 spot. So now he's going to have to work his way through here in the pace as well. But Chestnut is making, Tuda looking on the inside, but Brian Douglas closes the door on him. And, you know, sometimes a lot of these drivers, they try to make those last-minute lunges into the corner, and a lot of them have to realize that, you know, hey, sometimes there's not that corner there at all. Like, you always have to look at how that car is going to take that corner as well as they go through. It's Divine Championship. It's spicy. It is. The midfield pack is developing and battling. Super Divine Champion, if you'd like to join the league, we're more than welcome. Happy to have you here as this battle develops even further. Brian Douglas now to Tuda. Tuda is going to send it. Looks like Brian Douglas kind of knows his pace, but looks like he's going to cover. Ooh. Sometimes those, as a commentator, it gets a little scary because you're uncertain whether or not if there's going to be a little bit of a tap as York is going to be going into the pits. Looks like he's going to start to try to cover off the pit of Alex, as Alex went in early and he came out in P12. It looked like Tim Wilkins did not dive into the pits, so that's just going to be an interesting one to see how that performance plays out, as we're going to jump along board with Michelle. Michelle now all over the back end of the Aston Martin as this develops, as we have Ricky Scott in front of them, that P13 driver. So they're going to be trying to work their way through. And this is the interesting part, is now here, as if I was Ricky Scott, the best thing I would do is, Afonso's going to try to send it into this corner. And side by side, Ricky Scott's going to have to bail out. That was definitely risky. Now Michelle's going to try the inside. Afonso shuts the door, both of them, and locks it on Michelle. Now Michelle's going to have to cover the brakes. That is just an amazing battle right there. Afonso utilizing the balance between utilizing the balance of the landscape of the track to close the door by utilizing that line and making it even much harder for a lot of these drivers, you know, especially Michelle, who's on an amazing pace in this Mercedes, to stick here. And it's definitely something that we're watching, an amazing battle as this keeps going. Now let's take a look at the battles that are still developing. We have Tuda over Chestnut. This is going up to the corkscrew. The two Ferrari drivers looking super racy. Ooh, Tuda, super late brakes. You know, it's always interesting, Buckley, is when, Tuda losing it. Now we're seeing Brian Douglas. He's going to try to do Alan Zhu. Tuda loses the back end. He's going to have Alan Zhu on the inside, side by side through the left-hander. Alan Zhu has to he overshoots that corner just a little bit, manages to save it. But the McLaren of Brian Douglas still working his way through here as this battle keeps growing. And there we have the leader, Farmer, now just catching up to P8 as this race just keeps developing even more and more. I mean, what an amazing battles we've had all day today.
It is. It turns out to be a very good race. We've lost, I think, a few people, but I think that was more to technical problems. But all in all, a great race, and a number of car manufacturers too.
Yes.
A good race.
Yes, very much so. And the first person in the big front pack of Aiden Hasbrock has dove into the pits, as we see Casey Bennett working his way. He's gotten past Andrew Jaschke, and I know he's probably kicking himself like he should be super up at the top, but he's gotten past Andrew Jaschke, and now he's chasing his Canadian relative, as I like to call it, Cole Bennett, who is in that Mercedes AMG. So Casey can come home still with strong amount of points and work his way up into at least getting one or two and kind of salvaging a little bit of this race. But it's definitely one of those things we'll have to see in how everything plays out, because we still have 28 minutes left to go in this race. All One Wolf says, this is the racing that we love. It is the racing that we love. It is the battles, the close proximity that we love to see here in the race, the side-by-side competitions that you don't really ever see. Now we're going to jump along board Alex. Where is Alex in the race? P9. He's already served his pits. Tim Wilkins is in front. Tim doesn't fully have to move out of the way here in this race. And a lot of the drivers, I think, especially the guys who are used to the Formula One side of life, they forget that, you know what I mean, you don't, like, you know, this is GT3 racing. Just because someone pits does not mean they have to fully move out of the way for you. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they still have their strategy that they may be going through. Like Tim, you know, we saw him battling with Brian Douglas, who's now into the pits. We saw him battling Chestnut, you know what I mean, Kevin Tarrant. So right now, Tim Wilkins is trying to work out his strategy, you know, but as a driver, Buckley, you know, with your experience, when you've approached a lot of these drivers here that, you know, it's like, hey, I know you pitted, you know what I mean? Like, how are you as a driver, are you focusing? Are you more of just like, hey, if my lap times are the same, I'm just going to coast and ride? Or are you really trying to focus on a way to get past?
The general rule, actually, is only concentrate on the car ahead of you, one passing at a time, and that's what I do. I mean, regardless of the position, you can only do one car at a time, and that's the one in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. P1 is in the pits. He's managed to separate himself a little bit to Afonso of 32.7 seconds, as Alex is still all over the back end of this Mercedes-Benz, but he's got the run at the final corner. Can he make it stick as he works his way through across the front straight? Will he send it down into turn one? Once we see what happens, we're going to switch it back. He sends it down to turn one. Tim Wilkins, a little bit of a door tap there. As Tim Wilkins, it looks like Alex is going to let him by. What an amazing show display of driving sportsmanship. You don't see that very often in a lot of races. Some people would say racing incidents let through. But the fact that the drivers on the track are making the decision, say, hey, you know what? That's not clean. It's not fair. It's not me. That's what I like to see here at GTMR as Michelle gets a 30-second stop go. Oh, what a beautiful run he had. Now the question is does Michelle, well, he does have 3 laps to serve that. So he's going to have to put out some banging hot laps here in a second and work his way up. And it looks like Casey and Andrew Jaschke got past Cole Bennett here. So that's going to slot Casey up to P11 as they're working their way around Michelle here. So this battle is really building up, because right now the pace of Casey Bennett is on a bit of a rampage here with that Porsche. He qualified in the top 4, and if I'm correct, his pace should be able to reel in Ricky Scott of that P10 spot even faster, as Swords and Keyboards says, yes, I know Swords and Keyboards, but here we go. Alex is going to try to line up the move again as they come up to turn 1 here. He's sticking his nose in there, so Tim knows he's going to be there. Is Alex going to send it, or is Tim going to close the door? Tim shuts the door, but Tim now has to react a little bit more due to the fact that the Lexus is there. Alex kind of gives him the, hey, you know, you close the door on me, I'm going to shut the door back on you. It kind of gives him a bit of a taste of his own medicine. Now, as a driver, you know, and I remember what you said, always thinking of the car ahead. But when you're coming up to a driver like that and you're, you know what I mean, his line, the way his line comes up and as it approaches that corner and you see it closing and closing and closing, I mean, do you kind of, like, once you get past, if you're side by side, you kind of do the old, well, here's the door as well? Or is it kind of just like, you know, once you're kind of past, it's kind of like, okay, now I'm gone?
Yeah, the latter. Definitely, if you can make the pass cleanly, hopefully, it's onward, forward and onward.
Forward and onward. That is the story of this season. I'm going to have to put note cards on it for people. Just, hey, forward and onward. As we see car 97 as dominant square, he has lost it there in sector 1. There's a yellow there. So hopefully he's able to recover. Car 77 of that Lamborghini. It is not his first race. And Tom Castellani going a little bit slow as they're working their way through. As Afonso's dove into the pits. We see Kevin Tarrant and Chestnut in the pits. So Tim Wilkins, the one driver out of that group that was in that massive battle, he is currently, he's going for the long haul here as we have 13 minutes left to play in the pit window. As Sword and Keyboard say, let's go, Kevin. He says, no, you should know where the turn starts. True. You should know where the turn starts. for the drivers that are approaching. Now let's take a look. We see Casey Bennett and Andrew Jaschke. They are in P9 and P10. As we see Fernando's, he is P1 so far, and he's already served his pit, which is super strange because now Farmer is 14 seconds behind him. So now the question is did Farmer mess up on his pit strat here in this race? Now we have Aiden Hasbrock. He is 0.8 off the pace of Afonso. So Aiden's trying to get that podium.
For a short race, the stop and go 30 is an absolute killer.
It is 100% a killer here. I kind of wish the game would actually do more of a time penalty system. I wish you could actually like adjust that, you know what I mean, to make it a little bit easier on the driver per se. But I mean, I understand, you know, what it is, you know, it's with the way that these races are, especially for endurance, it actually helps equalize a lot of the people who really push the limit of their cars in the race. So let's take a look here and see. We've got, Michelle is disqualified. Looks like something must have happened there. So now that's going to slot everybody further up into position. Now we got Alan Zhu. He is P14. Mathis Tuda, he's going to be able to bring home a point unless Kevin Torrance manages to work something out as he goes through here. Farmer is still 14 seconds off the pace of our race leader of Wilson Fernandez in that blue and white BMW. And he's not that far off the pace. Best laps, Fernandez has done a 122.810. Farmer has done a 122.605. But overall, last lap and everything, they are super close side by side together. So it's not like they're really far off in pace performance. Here.
It looks like Michelle didn't take the stop.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a drive-through will give you a time penalty, but a stop and go 30 will give you a disqualification. Probably for speeding in the pits or violating, but it's very important strategy to know that button. And when you come into the pits and leave the pits, when and where to press that button.
Hey, I tell everybody I would rather you stop beforehand than try to play the last minute game, because it's the last thing you want to do is play the last minute game, and the next thing you know, there you are, 30-second stop go. As we see Tim Wilkins, he is in the pits. Now we see Kevin Torrance, Tuda, Alan Zhu. Chestnut's going to jump, leapfrog him. It seems like the undercut strategy is what really is playing out, because Casey Bennett, remember, Casey Bennett was the first driver to pit, and he has leapfrogged all the other drivers, and he's now P7. And he had a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think it's by track. This track, the undercutters seem to be the winners here.
And here we have Tuda, Mathis Tuda. He is P15, and he's right now right behind the Porsche driver of Alan Zhu. And there's Tim Wilkins working his way out. And Tim Wilkins definitely falling down the order. Definitely not what he wants to see, but he is ahead of Kevin Torrance, one of the drivers he was battling out with. It makes you wonder if a lot of these drivers had known that the undercut would have been so strong if they would have just stayed out even longer. Because right now, looking at P1 and P2, their lap actually, Fernandez is actually lapping faster than Farmer by 0.3 right now. That was over their last lap. They are lapping, actually, he's lapping faster. Farmer is actually 8/10 off of his actual pace here in this race, and it seems to be growing up to a second. So this may play into Aiden's hands if this pace keeps up, because you have 18 minutes left and anything can happen here before the end of the race.
And the temperature did rise too, I believe. So those who didn't adjust for that in their pit stop may be a little bit suffering there, or a little hard on the traction control button.
Yeah, and here we have it, because the race started at 10 a.m. in game, And we're now at 11:35, and this is California for those that don't know where Laguna Seca is, and it is 30 degrees Celsius now. And as you were saying, it rose 1 more degree Celsius. So some of the drivers, you know what I mean, like this is definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least. As we now see, it looks like Casey Bennett's up to P7, and now we have Andrew Jaschke, but we're going to keep aboard the Tuda versus Alan Zhu battle of this Ferrari. This Ferrari is looking super. It's such an interesting car every season with Kunos. It seems like it just goes up and down, up and down. Sometimes it's overall balanced good, but it all depends on your setup as well. But now we're going to jump along board with where is he? Andrew Jaschke here, as he is now on the back end of Ricky Scott, working his way past Roku. Thank you, sir, for letting them through. And Andrew Jaschke trying to get to P8, and Ricky Scott is trying to hold on to that. And now we just need the fan club of Ricky Scott in the chat to do the magical water dance in hopes that Andrew Jaschke loses all of his pace and performance, as we have a yellow flag. That's going to be 97, and that's going to be Dominant Square trying to get that Ferrari to work around Laguna Seca here. And it looks like Andrew Jaschke has a lot of damage on that Audi there as he works his way up. And it seems like a lot of people had, said, oh, well, the Audi got nerfed really bad. The Audi got nerfed really bad. But it seems as if with Andrew Jaschke at the pump, yeah, it's not a top 5 car right now, but seems like the Audi just kind of got a little bit more balanced, but it's still the overall good driving car that, a lot of people are uncertain of.
Yeah, in this track, you're not going to get the full speed. So the little nerf we got between the Audi, and I am an Audi driver, it doesn't, it didn't really make a bit of difference. It was, it all evens out, and it comes down to knowing the track and knowing your brakes and your braking zones, and the whole driver knowledge thing. And that means more than actually the car you drive, I believe, in most cases.
Of course, agreed. As the Audi driver is looking to try to make something happen, and we are also going to have P2 possibly start catching up with these guys in the battle, as Farmer is now knocked out 2 seconds of the overall pace from Fernandez. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one, to say the least. As Tom Cassiani off the track again, and that Honda is just not. As Common Cold says, the Audi got buffed again. It did. Definitely an interesting one. They must have slid that one in and said, hey, no more nerfs. All you get is buffs. As they work, and we got James Parks right in front of them. James loses the back end on the downhill part of the corkscrew, and I'm very known for having that happen. That is such a shame, especially when, you feel mentally like, okay, I've got it all lined up. I'm perfect. I'm good. And then you get on the throttle, and then the screw just says goodbye for you as a driver. So I'm going to say there's no shame in that, because it's happened to us all. As we see Andrew Jaschke still all over the back end of Ricky Scott. And Common Cold, welcome back, good sir. I hope all is well, especially for you up in Wisconsin. I saw the videos of you racing the Miatas at Road America. I would love to I would love to participate in that. Racing Miata around Road America as well. We got to get you in here. We got to get you racing. We need a Bentley. We don't have a Bentley on the grid. Gold. We need a Bentley on the grid.
Yes, we do.
See, even Buckley says we need a Bentley on the grill. As Andrew Jaschke makes it around Ricky Scott, it seemed like Ricky Scott just did not have the pace and the performance to keep him up. And now the P2 driver has caught up. Now this battle is developing. So Farmer's going to have to hold it out. And this is a lot of the issues with a lot of these fast guys, is when they approach these backmarking packs, that are battling it out, you kind of wonder, like, okay, well, you've got to time it. You just can't send it in and just hope for the best. Like, you just gotta give it a little bit and just work your way through. And I think Ricky Scott's trying to find the right spot to give it to him. And just Farmer's just he's just right there. So I'd say if Ricky Scott's going to give it, it's probably going to be on this main straight. But the sad part is Ricky Scott just lost it. A lot of pace and performance that he would have against Andrew Jaschke. And it looks like Farmer is going to get it here coming up to turn 1, as Ricky Scott is possibly going to try to make something here as Farmer goes super deep in that corner. But yeah, I mean, that's just it. Tracks like this, and I'm pretty sure you know, Buckley, it is just really, it's just one of those where you're like, okay, I need to give a spot, I need to give a space, and then it's just like corner after corner after corner. And Andrew Jaschke, he kind of messed it up. Now here comes Ricky Scott. Is Ricky Scott going to capitalize on Andrew Jaschke's mistake? And it doesn't seem like it. Andrew Jaschke's going to try to check up right behind Farmer and work his way up the track, as the Audi of Andrew Jaschke's looking super racy against that Honda of Farmer's.
Audi hit the sausage, and that'll do it to you. What a good race.
It is.
What a good race.
Oh, it's been a beautiful race. A lot of strong performances and paces. We're going to work down the order here in this race. We're going to take a look at our leader, Fernandez. He's working his way around Dominant Square, who has gone a little bit wide. Caught the dirt there. This is where I was, during the driver's meeting, I was letting the drivers know. It's just, work your way through the grid. Don't force people, because, you catch a little bit of that dirt, a little bit of the grass, and we've seen people's back end kick out, a little too much. And the last thing you want to do is, yes, they should have moved, but then you cause them to have an accident, which has caused them to hit you. It's just, it's not, let's, we really have to take our time and work our way through the grid here. Especially on a track like this where you have elevation change as well as off-camber, on-camber corners as they go through. So let's take a look. We got Fernandez P1, Farmer P2 in that NSX. Aiden Hasbrock, our reigning championship winner for the prior 2 seasons in that McLaren P3. Afonso P4 in that Aston Martin Alexandra. P5 in that Lexus. He's done an amazing opening run. Yort P6 in that McLaren. Casey Bennett reworking himself up to P7. That's definitely going to be a huge buff game. Andrew Jaschke P8. And then we got Ricky Scott P9. He's trying to recover as much as he possibly can on the downhill section. He was probably hoping that Lambo was going to hold up Andrew Jaschke as much as he wants. As much as he can, but it just didn't seem like that. But, the McLaren's super stable. We got Chestnut here in P10 in that Ferrari. Definitely showcasing very strong performance. We got, let's see, Louis is out, I believe, in this race. Definitely interesting to see what happened to Louis. We got Cole Bennett up to P11 in the Mercedes-Benz. Interesting to see him after not seeing, as we see Afonso right behind him. So definitely an interesting one to see where they work. To working himself up to P12. Brian Douglas to P13. Alan Zhu to P14, followed by Tim Wilkins in P15 as these drivers are working their way through. Tim Wilkins trying to make something happen. He's on the outside in and trying to get those 2 points here in this race. But let's give also a huge shout out to the other drivers that are racing. Kevin Tarrant, P16. James Parks showcasing good performance. James was letting us know that he was going to focus more on actually picking, working on his fundamental pace and performance with the McLaren. So he was going to choose GT Meister Racing, and I believe E-Seniors, to develop that and make that grow even better. And that's super awesome to hear that, especially him saying that he wants to use our league as a development program to help him grow faster. So I've been always helpful in helping him with building his pace up and everything else like that. Dominant Square P18. He's got Farmer right behind him. Farmer's going to work his way through onto the main straight up to turn 1. We got Tom Castellani working his way up to the hairpin. Up to the corkscrew. And then we have Ryoku in P20 in the Lamborghini, and Michelle, Shamar, and Artem did not make it, and I'm guessing Louis also did not make it. But we're going to jump back along board. Tim Wilkins and Alan Zhu, they let Alex through in the pace. So is Tim Wilkins going to reel him in? They are not. We have 8 minutes left to play. Farmers reeled Fernandez in 9.4 seconds. Do you think Farmer's going to make it? Do you think Farmer is going to possibly catch Fernandez by the end of the race and hopefully for a pass?
Well, I just don't see it myself. That'd be oh boy, he's got to make some fantastic time there. Maybe if Fernandez boggles a little bit, but I don't think so. I think if he just keeps his pace, nothing. The '88 Beamer just might do it today.
I mean, if he pulls it off, what an amazing battle, especially based on the performance Farmer was having during practice, during qualifying. You know what I mean? Because right now, looking at it, pace-wise, the last lap of Fernandez was a 123.792, and the pace of Farmer was a 122.9. So he's definitely looking super strong. Farmer's definitely gaining time, but it's not by a whole lot. You really, if this was a track, I would say like spot. Ooh, as Tim Wilkins catches the dirt, and the Mercedes loses it up at the top of the corkscrew. Oh, what a shame there. Oh, he's waiting. He's got to wait for the other two cars. York goes by. Kevin Torrance goes by. Kevin Torrance is now going to slot himself into the points. Oh. As a driver, I mean, if you're... man, what a shame there for Tim Wilkins. I would, as a driver, I would possibly be looking at, okay, all right, this is where I'm at. Okay, the guy behind me is 6 seconds. The guy in front of me is 3.5. If I'm not gaining any time, it'd be just like, okay, let's just delta pace. Look at his lap time, the guy in front, and just cover. Because, I'm sure when you get to that corkscrew, as we just saw with Tim Wilkins, that little bit of dirt, you lose it and you're tossed out, and the next thing you know, now you're out of the points, and now you're kind of having to push with 5 minutes left and hoping that you can reel in about 2.2 seconds worth of time. Oh, York into the wall hard. Oh, wow. As I was just talking about just monitoring pace and performance, York into the wall super hard. His tires probably, he must be feeling that one in the car in his rig with 5 minutes left to go. P6. Now let's take a look. Where is Casey Bennett? Casey Bennett, he has Farmer P2 had just passed. They're working their way up the hill. York's just reaching the corkscrew. Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. Farmer down to 7.9 seconds. Farmer trying to claw back with 5 minutes left to play. What's your thoughts here, Buckley?
Boy, it's going to get tires. The fresh tires of Farmer just may play into it here at the end, but with less than 5 minutes to go, and he's 7.5 now seconds ahead. It's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if Vegas is ready to lay odds yet.
No, definitely, and especially since the fact that you've got Fernandez. He is now coming on the main straight up to turn 1. He's got York in front of him. Farmer P2 now 6.6 seconds, 4 minutes and 20 some seconds left to play. If Fernandez, because York's got damage, if Fernandez gets past York, and that's a bit of a separator, because York's probably most likely going to move over and not put any competition to Farmer based on the damage that he has on the car. That's my overall guess here, and I have a very strong feeling that's going to allow, Farmer's going to have to try to do something to pick up a lot of time with 3 minutes and 4 seconds left to pay. We're going to jump down to Chris Chestnut here. It showed he was 8/10. Now he's fallen off a little bit of the pace. Now we're going to jump to Alan Zhu here real quick. As this battle with Brian Douglas is developing, Alan Zhu's going to try the inside. Brian Douglas is going to let him through. Brian Douglas catching too much. Alex is now on a pace. If I was Alex and I knew, York hit the wall, there's damage, things like that, I would just back off and just be like, okay, I'll let the two guys in front battle and just kind of work my way through here. As we see Tim Wilkins now all over the back of Kevin Torrance. He's working his way up to turn 1. Is he going to try to switch back into turn 1? Kevin Torrance goes wide. The door partially closes based on the apex as they go through. Farmer now still 6.4. We're going to be monitoring as that develops with Tim Wilkins in P16 trying to get the point from Kevin Tarrant from New Zealand. For those that don't know, he is the only man that's driving in the Pacific. Oh, James parks it into the wall, and I did not mean to pun that together. What a shame. And then Thomas Cassiani losing it over there on the uphill. His setup on that Honda has just not been there for this race. His engineers are probably losing their minds as everything as they go through here. We got Farmer now. He is still 6.2 seconds. He is reeling him in as fast as possible, but not enough to make something happen. Tim Wilkins is still trying to work Kevin Tarrant here. As we see Fernandez, he is now all over the back end of what looks to be Chrysler Yort there. Chrysler Yort is going to move over and let Fernandez through. We have also Farmer is working his way downhill. He's now coming up to the final corner. Now Tim Wilkins is going to try to make something happen down into turn one. Let's see what they can do.
The leader's got to make, you see, according to his time, he got 2 more laps. This one and then the last one.
It's gonna be a tough one. Fernandez has just cleared Chrysler Yort here, and Farmer still is gonna have to try to clear him as well coming through, because I know Yort's not gonna move over a whole lot. It all depends on how Fernandez plays this whole group here in front of him of Tim Wilkins and Kevin Tarrant as they battle for the final point in the opening start off of the championship here as they work their way through. But we have battles as well. Alan Zhu 5/10 off the pack of Chestnut. Ooh, Tim sends it super deep, over breaks himself, but can he recover on the downhill with the leader of the race catching him? The flags are out.
And Fernandez is coming up on both of them now. This will be interesting.
Let's see. Kevin Tarrant goes super wide. Oh, you're getting the flashes. Fernandez is trying to make something happen. Kevin Tarrant loses it out of the throttle. Tim Wilkins looks like he's getting a run. This is going to be the final lap, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, this is a tough one, XC, because these guys are racing, and I hope that first place guy, Fernandez, knows that they're racing for points here.
Down on the inside. Here goes Fernandez. Fernandez is going to send it. Oh, Kevin Tarrant loses the back end of it. Oh, what a shame. Here goes Fernandez on Tim Wilkins. Now the question is will Tim Wilkins just back out of it, let Fernandez through and not cause any issues? He does. He lets it through. Now we're going to jump along board. We're going to take a look at, I believe Alan Zhu was all over the back end of Chestnut here in the battle. Now they have to work through the Lamborghini on his way down. Ricky Scott is in the massive battle with Andrew Jaschke. Oh, there's damage. What happened there between Ricky Scott and Andrew Jaschke? Oh, there is a lot of damage on Ricky Scott's car. He was all over the back end. That would be an interesting one to say the least. But let's take a look at Fernandez. Where is Fernandez? He's on the corkscrew on the downhill, the race leader, and possibly the winner of this race, which he probably will. Farmer manages to reel in 4.5 seconds of pace.
Wow, another 2 or 3 laps, XC, and boy, it'd be a really...
Oh, Tim Wilkins on Brian Douglas. It could be one more spot if Tim Wilkins gets a run. Oh, but he doesn't. And across the line, Fernandez takes home the season opener win. Wow, what an amazing battle here in this race. Woo. Wow, Farmer bringing it in 4 seconds. Let's take it right along board. Aiden Hasbrock, he's coming up to the final corner. That looks like it's going to be Andrew Jaschke in front of him with Andre Alex Afonso. He's going to be sitting there P4. James Parks had a lot of damage, and across the line they go. Ooh, James Parks with a lot. P4, what a beautiful showing for the Aston Martin. And it looks like the Audi ran out of fuel.
Oh, no.
but he managed to cross the line to bring the car home to P8. Alex in his debut race with the Lexus is going to bring his car home. P5, Chrysler, you're bringing it P6, manages to recover very well. Casey Bennett, P7. Andrew Jaschke, P8. Ricky Scott, P9. Tuda slots himself P9. Cole Bennett slots himself P11. And we're going to see Mr. Chestnut cross the line here in P12. And Alan Zoo, and that is going to bring in everybody here in the race, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing battle. What an amazing performance here in this race. I mean, the battles were phenomenal. Everything, the pace, the performance, the speed of everything, the undercut strategies, how everything played out. It was phenomenal. We're gonna try to get some of these drivers in here. Give us a second. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I apologize for the delay. We got Fernandez in here. We've got Aiden Hasbrock, our P3 finisher, in here. We're just waiting on Farmer, so we're going to jump along board with our P3 finisher. And we're going to talk with Aiden Hasbrock on his performance and pace throughout the race at Laguna Seca. Aiden, Laguna Seca does not seem like much of a track for the McLaren. It seems like your pace was there, but it just wasn't there to capitalize on a race win going into this season. Talk us through your race overall.
Couldn't do it over and over again. I kept crashing. I got to do better.
I mean, hey, at least next race you're going to be going into Snetterton, which seems to be a little bit more of an opener, like more of an open track to maybe help out the McLaren overall in the balance and performance. I know when I was doing the LFM stuff, it seemed really, really good there. But overall, I mean, what do you think of the first race so far this season? Aside from the crashes, how do you feel like the pace and performance of everybody going into this season?
I think it should be a good year. More people that are near me or even quicker than me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's awesome to hear. I'm super happy to see you on the podium, and especially to having a lot of battles here in the races. It's super awesome. Definitely keep an eye on that. We're just waiting on the P2 guy. Doesn't seem like the P2 guy, Farmer, is coming, and that's we'll get with him. But we're gonna jump along board for Fernandez. Yes, Fernandez. I apologize. With Fernandez, welcome to the league. Welcome to GT Meister Racing. It's a pleasure to have you here. What an amazing job you did at Laguna Seca. I mean, you and Aiden Hasbrock were battling it out sitting there in that P2, P3 spot, kind of bouncing around. We saw that, Farmer got you to about a 3.4 second pace, as you guys were working through, and it just seemed like there really wasn't a whole lot of, he couldn't gap you even more in the race. You decided to go with the early pit strategy for the undercut. Were you really expecting that pit strategy to come out so well and put you 14 seconds ahead of Farmer in the race?
I sorry about my English, but
No, it's
it's
fine.
not my main language. Well, I don't expect a farmer comes so behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened with him.
Yeah, we weren't too
But
sure if it was like he may have messed up on the pits, but that's why we were wondering if you were surprised with such a big jump.
yeah, because he was 5 seconds ahead me. I don't know what happened. So and after the pit, I think he crashed or lose
Mm-hmm.
track. I don't know because he got it 14 seconds behind it. So
Hmm.
after this, I just keep my hit and keep the lead.
Well, congratulations on the opening win here at Laguna Seca. I mean, now we're going to be going into Snetterton, which is a British track, for the next race of the season. How are you feeling overall in your pace and performance in there? Do you think you can possibly reel in another W?
I think Snetterton is good track for BMW because so much curbs. Uh, let's see.
Well, there
I
you.
like Snetterton.
Hey, you know what? And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The race winner, Mr. Fernandez, pretty much calling it out and saying it in the nicest manner that he could possibly say it, and that is the BMW is strong at Centerton, and I'm thinking I'm going to win at Centerton. And I can't wait to see the battle develop between you, Farmer, and Aiden, as well as with Afonso and Michelle in the background looking in. And I would like to say what a wonderful night, and thank you for all the drivers that came out and participated here at Laguna Seca with the Season 4 opener at GT Meister Racing. I'm your host, Axia, and hey, if you guys want to join the league, check us out on SimGrid, and definitely get a link into the Discord there. When you sign up in the championships, take a look at us in the host sections, and we'll get you all squared away and get you all in. You guys have a wonderful night, and we will be seeing you later.